Yes, everybody. Joe, I was going to do a big cheesy grin then and smile and be like, "Hiya, you're all right," but let's be honest, we're not, are we? We're facing probably a proper ass kicking at our biggest rivals at home. So no, not really all right, I think is the way it's going down. A little bit of team news before we get cracking. Pogba and David De Gea definitely ruled out of the clash on Sunday. Pogba's been holidaying with Zinedine Zidane, which I'm sure everyone's fine about. Wan-Bissaka, Lingard, Shaw, Marshall are in the might feature, might not feature. Ollie had something to say on the injuries. He said, of course, I would like to tell you some positive news. Hopefully, we'll see Sunday who's come through the last two sessions, because there's players that just started training on the verge of coming back, so can't really say. Ollie said, Paul had an injury, he came back, he worked hard, came back, played a couple of games, maybe played through the pain barrier. He had a scan after the Arsenal game and maybe needed a few weeks rest in a boot, so hopefully he won't be too long. David needs a scan, I think he'll be out. Certainly looked that way judging on last night, so it's just one of those things. And then he said, I don't expect him to play versus Liverpool, but it wasn't as bad as we feared. When I saw the game, I thought he'd be out until next international break because we had some long-term muscle injuries. Absolutely decimated, this team at the minute on the back of injuries. Absolutely decimated. We've got our worst start in 30 years, which makes everyone feel all warm and fuzzy inside. We are unbeaten in our last 4 games in all competitions, which is barely a positive. We sit 2 points above the relegation zone, and the top scorer is Marcus Rashford, who scored in the midweek absolute bum in Bulgaria for England. And that was his first open play goal since the opening day of the season against Chelsea. United haven't taken a point off a team who has scored first against us this season, which does not bode well at all. And to be honest, that's one of the major things that is getting to me about this United team at the moment, is that lack of a fight back, that lack of the ability, and this goes to the manager, the lack of ability to fix things up and change things when we go behind. Maybe that's a damning indictment of the squad. Maybe that's evidence of how poor our squad is. And do you know what else is evidence of it? When I tried to put the team sheet together, because I'm looking at the team sheet and I'm trying to write a team where I go, right, how can I put a team together here that's going to beat Liverpool? And do you know what? I can't. That's the God's honest truth, is that I can't fashion a team together. So, with the injuries haven't helped, but they probably wouldn't have made a massive difference regardless anyway. I just can't figure out a way to put together a team here that's going to actually win a game for Manchester United. And that is an absolute nightmare for us. When we look at our opposition, currently 100% record, totally top of the league, 8 points clear of Manchester City, only lost 1 league game since the very beginning of last season. Fucking top. Worst nightmare. Big emphasis on Firmino playing as the deep line number 9, distributing the balls to Salah and Mane either side. Key player for Liverpool would be Sadio Mane. I think the guy's absolutely magic, very underrated. 6 goals in all competitions for them this season. Joint top scorer in the league. Last season, 22. Has just certainly left with where he left off last season. Averages 2.3 shots per game. Tony Marshall, 1.7. Last season, he scored with every 3.9 shots. So he's about in the same sort of ballpark this season for them. Possession won 1.3 times per game in the opponent's half, which shows him. And also Salah. Salah's the leading player in the league for winning the ball back in the opposition half. That shows you what this team's all about. They press high, they push up high, and they hold the possession when they get it. They can knock it back all the way to defence, and they hold it in between their centre-halves. They expect both centre-halves to have somewhere in the region of 70, 80 passes each this week against us. Romero's probably going to be starting in goals for us. He's shown in the past a weakness with the ball at his feet when he's been put under pressure, but Dan James has come out. It definitely sounds like he's been told to, saying it is as good as anyone in the league with the ball at his feet. Not sure I'm going with that one, to be honest. Ollie also mentioned something about Klopp. He says when Klopp came in, if we compare, he also seems to get a few injuries early on because the workload and intensity he wanted to play. You don't really see that anymore. He can play with the same 11 every week. We'll get there. Remains to be seen. So Sergio Romero then, obviously key player for United this weekend, coming in to replace David De Gea. 6 clean sheets in 7 in the league in his entire OT career. Not bad. 7.7 long balls per game, which is a little bit better than David De Gea, and 2.9 saves compared to De Gea's 2.8. 0 errors leading to goals compared to De Gea's 10, but obviously over a far larger sample size. The starting 11 that I eventually opted with then, and as depressing as this is, I went with a bit of a 4-4-2 diamond, 4-2-2, depending how you want to throw this one together. We've written it as a 4-4-2 diamond in this instance. I'm going with Tuanzebe and Wan-Bissaka. They have a lot of very, very, very similar characteristics, and I think they both match up quite well with Liverpool's attacking players. I don't want to see Ashley Young anywhere near this. He'll give away free kicks in stupid areas. He thinks just by being rough, that's good defending. It's not good defending. Good defending is good defending. Staying on your feet, taking them to the outside because they all like to come inside on their stronger foot. That's what United should be doing, is having intelligent defending. Lindelof and Maguire should be able to deal with the threats aerially that they pose. They don't generally like to go in the air with it. They like to play it around on the floor. Matic, he'll be a big help to sort of screen what's going to come from their defence, because I don't know why they are deluded into thinking that they knock it around on the floor like vintage Barcelona. The way Liverpool hold possession, it'll be with around the halfway line with the two centre-halves, and then they'll launch it into the channels. Nothing wrong with that. But be honest about how you play. That's how you play. And United have been very effective in the past at putting someone like Matic and potentially even McTominay in those areas where those balls are likely to land, because they're pretty good in the air, the pair of them. Get on the end of those receiving balls and try and turn them round. Our best chance of winning this game comes in the form of counter-attacking. Our best player to do those counter-attacking balls and to put that killer ball into the final third isn't playing. So I've put Fred in there because he can kind of play a long ball every now and then, but he's hardly world-class at it. And Wan-Bissaka's got a little bit of a creativity in there. And I've gone with a two up front, a partnership, if you like, in these two up front, because both Dan James and Marcus Rashford do have the ability to put an opposition defence under pressure, and they would both allow us to press from the front. That's going to be very important from United, is to pressurise that Liverpool defence. Pressurise them when they're in possession with the ball and try and win the ball back ourselves high up the pitch. One matter in behind isn't necessarily for any sort of tactical reason, except that, well, he's going to fucking play, innit? That's kind of what we're stuck with. The injuries have absolutely done us in here. Now, Wan-Bissaka, he's still on the potentially injured list. So he might not even feature, and it might have to be Ashley Young. When we went into the Newcastle game with the team that we had, I wasn't confident. And I'm even less confident because they were shit and they still beat us. We're going into this game here against a Liverpool team that are absolutely flying, going to make it. This is going to be a whitewash. I can't even say, like, look, we've got a hope on set pieces, because we haven't scored a fucking set piece since the 90s, it feels like. That's what you guys are saying in the comments. Matic getting pressed is not ideal. No, and neither's McTominay, to be honest, but there you go. Pro Instinct says Diamond won't work. They'll kill us on the overlap. They're coming through the overlap anyway. And in defence, the Diamond, they split into like a 4-4-2 regardless. So there's no difference to playing 4-2-3-1 in that aspect than playing the Diamond. Excuses. Well, it's a pretty fucking valid excuse when your best goalkeeper, best defender, best midfielder and best attacker's out, innit? When we already had a thin squad anyway. Done even if the team was fully fit. We struggled to create against them, but they struggled against us at Old Trafford earlier in the season when it was actually going pretty well for Ollie. Those 4 injuries really curtailed every sort of positive that we had, wasn't there? Kyle says our best hope is a 0-0 draw. Craig says, why not a 3-5-2? I think going with the diamond goes back to what Ollie was successful with against the top 6 sides earlier in his reign at United. He was very successful with it. And it's less of a real shift of mentality that the players would have to have, and it's less of an adaptation for the players than going to a 3 at the back. Although I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you in the slightest that a 3 at the back probably suits this football team better with what we've got available to us. Pereira's definitely playing even though no one wants him to play, says Derpy Weevil. Yeah. His decision making annoys me, to be honest. Every team has injuries. Yeah, they do. But every team doesn't have injuries to the way we've had when we've already weakened our squad. We'd already lost 4 or 5 players over the transfer window. We brought in other players. You know, yes, people have injuries and sometimes people struggle with those injuries. United are threadbare and we need our players back to have any sort of a chance. I'm hardly making an excuse for it. I'm literally just saying this is what the crack is. We've improved our defence, but we weakened our midfield and attack over the summer. Top and bottom. Alejandro says, absorb pressure and counter-attack is all we've got. It is all we've got, but I'm just not confident in terms of who's going to play those balls, those killer balls, efficiently into the final third for us to get on the end of. Why not play a front 3, Daniel James, Greenwood and Rashford? You've got nothing to lose. It's just who gets the ball to them. That's the problem, I think. Thoughts on Emre Can link? I'm not talking about transfers today. Wish we could play 4-3-3. We don't have the players to do it. No. 4-3-3 in most games, I would be totally with you on that, to be honest. But against this weekend, I'm not feeling it. Let's have a look. Give us a thumbs up if you take a 0-0 draw right now. We need Brandon Williams for left back. I think he's probably going to be 19th man. My prediction, I can't really sit here and say that I see United losing, even though I definitely can, let's be honest. I would say, I think our best chance is trying to scruff a goal somehow, but I could actually see it being a 0-0, to be honest. I could see us defending very deep and very well, because we do have the capability of doing that, but I just don't see us scoring. And that's the issue, is if we do go a goal behind against Liverpool, who is going to give us that goal? Who is going to give us that winner? I just don't know. Since I'm I just don't know. If I had to choose, get rid of Ollie or Ed, is that a serious question? I actually don't think Liverpool are playing well. You can think that, and you might be right, to be honest with you, but ultimately, they're 8-8 in the league. And they've lost 1 game since the start of last season. So, there you go. It is what it is, isn't it? I mean, you guys let me know in the comments what's your score prediction. Does anyone have us winning this game by anything other than a scruffy goal? I won't be surprised if we get put for 5, says T-Lights. Rather lose than draw, says Martin Ellison. Why? Thoughts on Rojo? I did a full-time Devils preview earlier, and Adam McCullough was saying he wanted to put Rojo in his team. And do you know what? I've got a lot of time for throwing Rojo in the starting 11 against Liverpool, because at least you know he'll fucking launch somebody, don't you? Which you can't say. Last-minute penalty from Rashford, says Glyn. Do you know what? Penalty could be the one. Penalty could be the one. 2-0, says Anath. I don't know where that comes from. This Liverpool team put 4 or 5 goals past Barcelona. We can't even sustain a barrage from Newcastle. But you know what? Sometimes football doesn't work like that, does it? Sometimes inexplicable things happen in football where form goes out the window. Otherwise, there'd be no point playing. Is Marshall 100% out? No, he was on the probably not going to play list rather than the definitely not going to play list. I hope we lose, get the clown out sooner rather than later. Well, sorry, mate, I've never wanted United to lose, ever, no matter the circumstances. Can't see us winning, take a draw, says Bradley. 3-0 to Liverpool, says Martin. 2-0 United, Rashford times 2, says Luke. I love Rojo, says Zach. Has the Patreon group got any questions for us? Liverpool preview. No questions in there yet from the Patreon guys. We're over 550 in the Patreon group if you're interested. There's behind the scenes stuff. There's actually a five-a-side game, which we're doing like every other month, bi-monthly, which is the first one of which, it's actually the second one, but the first one that we're going to be filming is next Friday. So if you're in the Manchester area and you're interested in that, we're doing little meetups, little hangouts, go for a beer, play five-a-side, all that kind of shit. And we're trying to do some live podcasts with ex-legends and stuff like that. So if you're interested in all of those things, or even just you've heard about it but don't really know what it's all about, link in the description. Come and check it out, and you might be surprised. About 3 videos a week they're getting at the moment that don't go out on YouTube for everybody else. 0-0, not going to happen. Not when 18 straight wins is on the line. Is that 18 straight wins getting into their mind more than anything else, do you think, though? I think that could be the one. That could be the one that fucks it for them, I think. Odds that we see a squad with Mata, Andreas, Fred and Young all playing. Very high chance of that, to be honest. What do I think the mood is going to be like in Old Trafford? Do you know what? I don't know, you know. I really don't know how that's going to go down. I spoke to my dad this morning and I was saying to him, like, what do you think it's going to be like? And he said it could go either way. And I think the first goal will be important. If it's a first goal from United, I think United fans will be fucking well up for it. I think we're just unsure at the minute in terms of how this is going to go down. So I think people are just kind of like holding back just a touch. There's a weird vibe around United at the moment. Really weird vibe. It's one of those, I think, isn't it? They are better. We can't be deluded. Is anybody thinking that we're better than Liverpool? As I don't think so. Surely nobody in here is thinking that. Has anyone said that? Just because there's some people saying that we might win, that doesn't mean that we're a better team. Sometimes you can just get a result, can't you? The Bill says, can't see United scoring. That's my main issue, to be honest. 2-1 United, says Jason. We're so thin in midfield, we need Carrick to put his boots back on. It didn't look bad in his final game, did it? It's an opportunity to play all our defenders, play 4-5-1, leave out our attackers, just play a defender in every position. Hopefully Liverpool players get injured. Thoughts on Sky Sports? United and Liverpool combined 11. No United players. Paul Scholes had the best answer to that. To play for United, why would we want to play for Liverpool? That's utter bollocks. If you think fucking Henderson's better than Pogba, you've just never watched football, have you? By the end of it, that's just as simple as that. All I went to see is effort, says Max. Imagine we lose to an own goal. Ugh. How will United respond if we get an early goal go in, says Kenny. We haven't responded so far. We've got 0 points from going behind so far this season. And that is a nightmare for me. Because that shows a worrying lack of fight. Compare that to the title winning side, which went behind, was it 10, 11 times, 2013, and managed to pull points out and victories out. It's just not good enough, is it? Righty, I am going to wrap it up there, but thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to subscribe if you're new. Also, check out the Patreon. The link is in the description. Like I said, there's extra videos. There's potential live podcasts and meetups with legends. We're doing one in Manchester, hopefully, if everything goes to plan and we get enough members in, because all of the little treats that we do are linked to how many people have joined. So we are a few hundred off, 200 off. Actually, it's less than 200 off. For our first meetup in Manchester with one of the legends, and then we are looking at doing one in Dublin probably early next year, and that will be with an Irish legend as well. So well worth doing if you're in either Manchester or Dublin or anywhere in Ireland you can get to those. Then come and check it out, and I'll see you. I'll see you after we get a 0-0 win against Liverpool on Sunday. Laters.